The old warehouse loomed before me, its weathered brick facade telling stories of decades past. My grandfather's legacy stood silent and imposing against the setting sun, while behind me, my family bickered over its fate. $75,000 is the best offer we'll get, my Uncle Marcus declared, waving the real estate contract. This neighborhood is worthless, and the building's falling apart. My mother nodded in agreement, not even bothering to look up from her phone. Better than nothing. Lord knows Dad never made any real money from whatever he was doing in there. I stood quietly, clutching the worn leather journal I found in Grandpa William's study. They hadn't bothered to read his papers or go through his research. To them, he was just the family eccentric, the brilliant engineer who'd thrown away a promising career to pursue crazy inventions in this old warehouse. We should at least look inside properly, I suggested, not for the first time. Grandpa spent 30 years working here. There might be something valuable. Oh, Sarah, my older sister Amy laughed, that familiar condescending sound that made my teeth clench. The only valuable thing about this place is the land it's sitting on, and barely that. But his research? Uncle Marcus snorted. Your grandfather was a dreamer, honey. Always talking about revolutionary energy systems and advanced materials. Never produced anything worth a dime. I opened the journal, pointing to a detailed diagram. Look at these designs. If we just... Enough, my mother snapped. The decision's been made. We're selling. Unless you can magically produce $75,000, this discussion is over. I fell silent, my fingers tracing the strange symbols and notes in Grandpa's journal. I was the only one who'd spent time with him in this warehouse, watching him work, listening to his theories. The only one who'd seen the light in his eyes when he talked about his discoveries. Actually, I said quietly, I have some savings. About $20,000. I'd like to buy a share. The laughter was immediate and cruel. Amy nearly doubled over, her designer purse swinging wildly. $20,000. Oh, that's precious. What are you going to do with a broken-down warehouse, little sister? Continue Grandpa's crazy experiments? Sarah, darling, my mother sighed, using that voice she reserved for particularly dim children. Don't waste your money. Focus on your engineering career instead of chasing your grandfather's fantasies. I bit back a retort. My engineering career was exactly why I understood the potential in Grandpa's work. But as usual, no one wanted to listen. The sale went through the next day. I watched from across the street as the real estate agent handed over the check, my family members already arguing about how to split the money. Not one of them noticed me slip around the back of the building using the key Grandpa had given me years ago. Inside, the warehouse was exactly as he'd left it. Dust motes danced in the sunlight streaming through high windows, illuminating rows of mysterious equipment and half-finished projects. The air smelled of metal and oil and possibilities. I moved deeper into the space, past workbenches cluttered with tools and prototype devices. My grandfather's presence was everywhere, in the carefully organized compartments, the meticulously labeled storage containers, the whiteboard still covered in his elegant formulas. The new owners would take possession at midnight. I had less than 8 hours to find what I was looking for. The journal had been specific about its location, though the instructions were coded in my grandfather's peculiar way. When the summer sun sets true west, I murmured, reading from the journal, follow the shadow of the crane to where it meets the eagle's perch. The overhead crane, still mounted on its rails, cast a long shadow across the concrete floor. My eyes followed it to the far wall, where a faded American flag hung below a mounted eagle sculpture. Grandpa had always been one for theatrical touches. Behind the flag, I found it, a subtle seam in the wall, barely visible unless you knew to look for it. My fingers trembled as I pressed the hidden panel exactly as the journal described. With a soft click and the whir of ancient machinery, a section of the floor began to sink, revealing a staircase descending into darkness. My phone's flashlight illuminated smooth concrete walls as I made my way down. The air grew cooler, and the sounds from above faded away. At the bottom, I found myself facing a heavy steel door with a keypad. The journal's final page held a sequence of numbers, written in my grandfather's shaky hand just days before his death. As I punched them in, I heard his voice in my memory. Sarah, my girl, sometimes the greatest treasures are hidden in plain sight. You just have to know where to look. The door swung open with a hydraulic hiss, revealing a sight that took my breath away. I was standing in a state-of-the-art underground laboratory easily 3 times the size of the warehouse above. Rows of servers hummed quietly along one wall. Holographic displays flickered to life, responding to my presence. Worktables held prototypes of devices I'd never seen before, each meticulously documented and ready for patent submission. "Oh, Grandpa," I whispered, "you brilliant, wonderful man." A desktop computer sat at a central workstation, its screen coming to life as I approached. A video file began playing automatically, and my grandfather's face appeared, recorded sometime in his final months. "Sarah," he smiled warmly, "if you're watching this, you've solved my little puzzle. I knew you would. You were always the one who understood." Tears blurred my vision as he continued speaking. "What you've found here is my life's work, not the decoy projects I kept upstairs for show, but the real breakthroughs. Quantum energy storage systems, room temperature superconductors, molecular manufacturing processes, all tested, documented, and ready for patent filing." He leaned closer to the camera, his eyes twinkling. "The patents alone are worth billions, my dear. But more importantly, these technologies could change the world. I'm trusting you with them because you have both the knowledge to understand them and the heart to use them wisely." I sank into the chair, overwhelmed by the implications. In a hidden bunker beneath a warehouse my family had sold for pocket change, my grandfather had quietly solved some of science's greatest challenges. "One more thing," my grandfather's recording continued. "Check the safe behind the periodic table display. The combination is your birthday." The safe contained thick folders of legal documents. My grandfather had created a separate company years ago, with me listed as the sole inheritor. The warehouse sale would be meaningless. This underground facility and all its contents belonged to that company, not the property above. I heard voices and footsteps upstairs, my family probably coming to clear out the last of the junk before the new owners took possession. Let them rummage through the worthless equipment above. The real treasure was safe below. My phone buzzed. A text from Amy. "Hey, failure, we're dividing up Grandpa's tools. Want any of this useless junk before we throw it out?" I smiled, thinking of the technological goldmine surrounding me. "No thanks," I typed back. "You can keep the junk." I spent the next few hours going through the lab's contents in detail. Each discovery was more incredible than the last. The quantum energy storage system alone would revolutionize green energy. The molecular manufacturing process could transform everything from medicine to space exploration. My grandfather hadn't been crazy. He'd been brilliant enough to know his discoveries needed to be protected until the right moment, and he trusted me to know what to do with them. Around midnight, I heard cars pulling away above. My family and the new owners, leaving with what they thought was everything of value. If only they knew what lay beneath their feet. I settled into the command center, ready to begin the next phase of my grandfather's plan. First, I'd need to contact his lawyers, then start the patent filing process. After that, my phone lit up with a news alert. Technology giant announces $100 million contest for breakthrough in energy storage solutions. I laughed softly, opening my grandfather's complete documentation of a working system that would make their contest look primitive. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving people wrong. It's letting them realize it themselves, one earth-shattering revelation at a time. "Thanks, Grandpa," I whispered to the empty lab. "I won't let you down." The next few days would change everything. My family would learn exactly what they'd given away, and the world would learn what one crazy old engineer had achieved in his secret underground lab. But for now, I savored the quiet moment of victory, surrounded by the greatest inheritance I could have imagined. Not bad for a worthless old warehouse, I thought, smiling as I began to type. 3 months after discovering my grandfather's secret lab, I sat in the executive conference room of Hamilton Technologies, one of the world's largest tech companies. Their CEO, James Hamilton himself, leaned forward in his chair, staring at the prototype on the table between us. "This is impossible," he whispered, but the working quantum energy cell in front of him proved otherwise. "We've had teams working on this technology for decades." My patent attorney, Gloria Chen, smiled. "The patents were filed this morning, all 47 of them." The news alerts had started hitting phones around the room. "Unknown engineer files revolutionary patents. Quantum energy breakthrough rocks tech world. Startup Phoenix Industries poised to transform global energy sector." My phone buzzed continuously, messages from my family members growing increasingly frantic as the story spread. I ignored them all. "We'd like to make an offer," Hamilton said, sliding a paper across the table. "Exclusive rights to all 47 patents." I glanced at the number and suppressed a smile. "That's a generous offer, Mr. Hamilton. But I'm not selling. $10 billion isn't enough. The technology isn't for sale at any price," I replied calmly. "Phoenix Industries will be developing and implementing these innovations ourselves. We're open to discussing limited licensing agreements." As if on cue, my tablet lit up with another news alert. Phoenix Industries announces revolutionary manufacturing facility, breaking ground next month. The facility would be built right on top of my grandfather's warehouse. The worthless property my family had sold for pennies would soon house a multi-billion-dollar technology center. Speaking of family, I excused myself from the meeting just as my mother's seventh call of the day came through. This time I answered. "Sarah?" Her voice was shrill. "What's going on?" "These news reports, they're saying you've developed some kind of revolutionary technology?" "Not me," I replied. "Grandpa. You know, the crazy dreamer whose life's work you sold for $75,000? Silence. "The warehouse," she whispered. There was something there. Under it, actually. A fully equipped secret laboratory. But you'd know that if anyone had bothered to actually look through his research instead of dismissing it as worthless. I heard muffled voices in the background, probably Uncle Marcus and Amy, trying to listen in. "We need to talk," my mother said firmly. "This is family business. Clearly, these patents should be shared." "Family business?" I cut her off. "Like when you shared the warehouse sale money? Or when you laughed at me for wanting to invest my savings in it?" "That's different. We didn't know." "Exactly. You didn't know because you didn't care enough to find out. Grandpa knew that. It's why he left everything to me through a separate company. The warehouse sale didn't include the underground facility or any of his intellectual property." More silence, then Amy's voice in the background. "She can't do this to us. We're family." I checked my watch. "I have another meeting. But you'll be receiving an invitation soon. Phoenix Industries is having a formal launch event next month. I think it's time everyone learned exactly what Grandpa achieved." The launch event was held in the newly renovated warehouse. The upper floor had been transformed into a stunning exhibition space, displaying the public-facing versions of my grandfather's innovations. The secret lab remained below, now expanded and modernized, but still hidden from prying eyes. My family arrived as a group, clearly hoping to present a united front. They stopped short just inside the entrance, gaping at the hundreds of influential guests mingling among holographic displays and working prototypes. "Miss Phoenix," my assistant touched my elbow. "The presentation begins in 5 minutes." I nodded, smoothing my designer suit, quite a change from the casual clothes my family was used to seeing me in. Amy's eyes widened as she saw tech industry leaders greeting me with respect, even deference. "Sarah," my mother stepped forward, arms extended. "Darling, we're so proud." "Save it," I said quietly. "Your seats are in the 3rd row. I believe the presentation will be enlightening." The lights dimmed and I took the stage. Behind me, a massive screen displayed the Phoenix Industries logo alongside a photograph of my grandfather. 10 years ago, I began William Phoenix made a breakthrough in quantum energy storage. But he knew the world wasn't ready, and more importantly, he knew some would try to steal or suppress his discoveries. So he built a secret laboratory and continued working, documenting everything, waiting for the right moment. I clicked to the next slide, a photo of the warehouse. Some saw this building as worthless, an embarrassment. They sold it for $75,000, laughing at anyone who suggested it might contain something valuable. In the 3rd row, my family squirmed uncomfortably. But William Phoenix was smarter than anyone knew. The real laboratory, containing billions of dollars worth of patents and prototypes, lay hidden beneath their feet. He left it all to the one person who believed in him, who spent time understanding his work instead of mocking it. The next hour was a detailed presentation of the technologies Phoenix Industries would be bringing to market: clean energy solutions, revolutionary manufacturing processes, medical breakthroughs. With each revelation, with each projected profit forecast, I could feel my family's regret growing heavier. After the presentation, they tried to approach me, but I was surrounded by investors, reporters, and industry leaders. They watched helplessly as I signed licensing deals worth hundreds of millions, posed for photos with tech luminaries, and unveiled plans for the Phoenix Technology Center, to be built on the land they'd sold so cheaply. Finally, as the event wound down, I found them huddled near the exit. "Sarah," Uncle Marcus started, "we need to discuss this as a family." "No," I cut him off. "We really don't. You made your choices. You decided Grandpa was crazy, his work was worthless, and I was a fool for believing in him. Those choices have consequences. But surely my mother tried. As family, we deserve some part of the success." I looked at them, really looked at them, for the first time all evening. They seemed smaller somehow, diminished by the weight of their own short-sightedness. "You know what Grandpa told me once?" I said quietly. He said success isn't about proving people wrong. It's about proving yourself right. I'm not doing this to punish you. I'm doing this because his work deserves to be developed properly by people who understand and respect it. And us? Amy's voice was small. What are we supposed to do? I smiled, reaching into my jacket pocket. "Funny you should ask. I have something for each of you." I handed them each an envelope. Inside was a check for exactly $25,000. "That's your share of the warehouse sale," I explained. "I thought you should have a concrete reminder of what happens when you judge something's worth by its surface." I turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and you might want to keep those checks. Frame them maybe. They'll be quite the conversation piece when Phoenix Industries reaches its projected $1 trillion valuation next year." The secret lab still hums beneath the warehouse, now the heart of a growing tech empire. I spend my evenings there sometimes, surrounded by my grandfather's work, adding my own discoveries to his legacy. The family doesn't come around anymore. Last I heard, they hired a lawyer to try to contest Grandpa's will, but there was nothing to contest. He'd made sure everything was legally airtight. On my desk sits a framed photo of him, taken in the lab just months before he died. He's smiling that knowing smile of his, surrounded by the inventions that would change the world. Below it, I've placed the original sale contract for the warehouse, $75,000 for what turned out to be the most valuable property in the city. Sometimes the best success stories start with being underestimated. Sometimes the greatest treasures are hidden right beneath your feet. And sometimes, as my grandfather knew, the real value of an inheritance isn't in its price tag, but in recognizing its true worth when everyone else looks away. As for me, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, building something extraordinary from what others thought was worthless. After all, isn't that what my grandfather did all along?